All right, it is 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Nathan, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember McPherson?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Rocco?
Yes.
Council President Bruce?
Here.
Mayor Steer?
Here, and if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item is the consent agenda.
I'm good. I move we approve the consent agenda as published. Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Is there any discussion on that motion? Nathan, would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember McPherson?
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Rocco?
Yes.
Council President Bruce?
Yes.
And that motion carries. Next, we have public comment. I have Chuck Oskierko. Okay. Yes, you may have the mic. If you'd state your name and address and push the base to get it to turn on.
Okay. Good evening. My name's Chuck Oskierko, O-S-K-I-E-R-K-O. My wife and I, we live at 2303 West Hannah Street in Cuna in the Ruby Creek subdivision. And I had the opportunity to speak at our last meeting last month, our concerns about the development that is wanting to go in just east of us. We brought up traffic, safety of our children, further encumbrances on the schools, water, sewer. And another thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if you folks are aware of this or if you get this, it's called the Idaho Farm Bureau Quarterly. And there was something, if I can, I'd like to read out of it to you, everyone. And it says, in part, "Good land doesn't replace itself," said David Anderson, the Idaho Senior Program Manager for American Farmland Trust. "Once converted, it's gone." He said fragmentation of farmland, for example, a subdivision plopped in the middle of ag land, is a serious concern in Idaho right now. Once farmland is fragmented, it is much more likely to be developed, he said. He pointed to separate studies by researchers from University of Idaho and BYU, Idaho, that both show Idaho counties receive more tax benefits from farmland than they do from residential properties. In essence, he said the studies show that farmland is subsidizing residential development. Unfettered fragmentation of our working lands is cancer to our agricultural economies, Anderson said. If we do not get this under control, then our economies are really going to start to suffer from the loss of our land base. And I'm sure most of the people know here that Ruby Creek and that surrounding area where CBH has built hundreds of homes at one time was all farmland. And then the gentleman sold his land because his sons opted not to farm it. And as I said in last month's meeting, we have 750 homes that are in the process of being built within a mile radius of Ruby Creek area. So with that being said, I still strongly oppose having that 23 housing development given the go-ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Shannon Jensen.
Hello, Shanna Jensen from 2290 North McClure. So we live on the private lane that is parallel with this new subdivision. And I just want to make sure that we're being good stewards, right? I know this is going to go through, but I want to make sure that you guys are helping the community set up for success. And knowing that these houses are going to be right on top of agriculture. Our neighbors have 20 pigs, okay? We have 8 horses, and our neighbor has about 10, and we have cattle, all on McClure. All of us do ag, we grow hay, we irrigate, we have flies, we have dust. And I just want to make sure that we're being up, as good as stewards. And what that means is proper fencing between the subdivision and us. Let's look at Ardell. We can barely drive down Ardell right now. It has no lines on it. It has no continuous sidewalk. And there's a huge development going on at the end of Ardell already. So when is ACHD gonna step up, right? So if we keep letting this go and we can't get out of our streets, that's a problem. But I would really like you guys to consider the fencing, the private property, the roadway, especially Ardell, and then the fact that the impact it'll have on the schools and the traffic through there with just being in one spot with no through in the new subdivision. But other than that, I think as long as we're good with the developer for trespassing, we had issues before with them coming on Ardell with their heavy equipment. We're responsible for that road. I got a quote, $30,000 for our road. So if they run heavy equipment on there, we're responsible to replace it. So again, just sharing the information to make sure we're good stewards.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask you a
Very
question?
good, thank you.
Are you talking about on McClure?
Yes.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Yeah.
Is that a private road?
Yes.
Yes, that one is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we contacted them and asked them to stay off, and they kept coming back with backhoes and stuff too. So we want to make sure it's very clear. None of the contractors, nobody. Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I might. Mark Bybee, City Attorney. I'm just going to mention as a point of order, we're not in a public hearing right now related to an application. That's problems for preserving a record. We're having people testify about a specific application. If it's not presented in the hearing, it shouldn't be considered in conjunction with the application. I think it seems like there maybe was some confusion about what the sign up was for today. And so just making that point of order on this, just these comments we're receiving.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And that's all I had signed up for public comment. Is there anybody else who wishes to comment? All right, and it's not about the subdivision? It is about the subdivision. This one in particular we're talking about tonight on the floor? Yeah, we can't take any more testimony on the subdivision, so.
Until we open right? Or is it a public?
If the council decides to open that public hearing, then we can. Is that the same?
The one off on the floor in Ardell? Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, and is that all we had? All right, thank you. Next is Bailey and Company 2025 audit. You may have the microphone.
My name's Cassie Zatero. I'm with Bailey and Company. I'm your city auditor and the CUNA Urban Renewal Agency, the component unit for the city of CUNA. So what you're looking at in front of you is what we call your communication letter. And that one is the letter that is for the city of CUNA. And it kind of touches on a little bit of what happened during the audit and some highlights there. But most of that I'm going to go over when I go through the financial statements. So I'm going to have you skip to the audit report in the financial statements. Okay, so we're going to go on to page 3 in the financial statements where the auditor's report starts. So the city's financial statements are comprised of opinion units. So there are multiple opinion units. So you have your governmental activities, your business type activities. You have a discretely presented component unit, that's your urban renewal agency. You have major funds and you have aggregate remaining funds. Each of those is an opinion unit. And in the second paragraph there, it's telling you that there's a clean opinion on all of those opinion units. And then there's some paragraphs that talk about the basis of our opinions. And then the next paragraph is one that we're going to touch on a little bit here, and then as we go into the financial statements, so that change in accounting principle. So the city was required to adopt a new governmental accounting standard that has to do with compensated absences. So you've had compensated absences in your financial statements in the past. What's new is the calculation of that compensated absence liability. So in the past, you weren't required to include a sick leave portion to that liability, because when an employee leaves, they're not entitled to that sick leave. And the new standard says, well, you have employees that are there for a length of time, and so you need to come up with an estimate of how much of that sick leave liability that they've earned that you're gonna end up paying out in the future. And so has a lot of judgment to it in determining that liability. And Jared worked up that, and we went through the mechanics of how he came up with that estimate, and it seemed reasonable. And so we'll touch on the numbers on that when we get into the note to the financial statements. The next couple of paragraphs talk about management's responsibilities for the financial statements, and then our responsibilities as the auditor, and then it goes on to the next page, and that continues. And the next paragraph goes over that there's some required supplementary information in your financial statements, which, if you scroll down a little bit farther, that's talking about. So there's some schedule of employers' share of net pension liabilities that has to do with PERSI, a schedule of employer contributions that also has to do with PERSI, and some budgetary comparison information. The budgetary comparison information is only for your governmental activities, for your general fund, and anything that's considered a major fund. So it's only a portion of the city's activities. And then there's a management's discussion and analysis that could be presented in the financial statements, but they don't have to be. And your city treasurer has chosen to omit that, so, and that's okay. And then there's some supplementary information in your financial statements, and that's in the form of combining information for those non-major funds. So you'll see your basically a balance sheet and income statement for those that's at the back of the financial statements. And then there's some other information, and that is just an expanded budgetary comparison schedule for your general fund, so you can see a little more deeply into what makes up your revenue and your expenditures in comparison to budget. And then the last paragraph is talking about the other report that we'll need to go over. And rather than having you scroll through a whole bunch of this, I'll get to that after I get through some elements in the financial statements. So we're gonna not go through the whole part of the financial statements, because there is 60 pages here, so that's a lot to try to go through in detail. So, and probably wouldn't mean a whole lot to many people. So if you're not familiar with accounting, it won't. So this first financial statement here is your statement of net position, but we're gonna skip past that, and we're gonna go on to page 12, where we have your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. So essentially your income statement. So that's gonna be 4 or 5 more pages in here. There we go. So we're gonna focus on your net change in fund balances. So that's a third line from the bottom. And so this is for your governmental funds. So again, that's just a piece of the city. Keep going down. Oh, there we go. So in the far right column, you can see how much the governmental funds increased for the year. So they increased by $11,644,041. And then your overall fund balance for your governmental funds ends with almost $42 million. And that's, you need to keep in mind, that's not just cash. There's receivables in there, there's payables in there. So it's not just purely a cash figure. And then if we go on to the same statement that's for your business type activities, so your utilities, and that's gonna be on page 16, so another 4 pages in. Okay, and then we're gonna go down to that change in that position. So your change in that position for your business type activities increased by 92 million. If you go up a couple of lines, you'll see a capital contribution line. 82 million of that was from capital contributions. That was the infrastructure that was considered what we call donated from your developers after some of the subdivisions were put in service and started selling those lots. So that's what the infrastructure that they had to develop for those subdivisions was valued at. So if you take the difference between the two, it's more like about a $10 million increase. And then if we look at your cash flow statement, and we go into page 19, so a couple more pages in. And we're gonna scroll down to the increase, the change in your cash and cash equivalents. So it's about a quarter of the way up from the page. On the far right, you'll see that it increased that $8,337,621. So you need to keep in mind that this is all stuff that's just cash equivalents, so it doesn't count stuff that's also considered investments. So if you go up a little bit in the section that says cash flows from investing activities, you'll see that there were some investments purchased during the year. So this is a little bit of a change from what you've seen in the past. Before, we've been able to consider what's been in your cash and investments, all a cash equivalent. And there was some stuff invested this year that now moves it into an investment category, so it has to be separated out. So there was 6.8 million there in purchases for investments. And then we're gonna go into the notes to the financial statements, and I'm actually just gonna have you skip to the page 30, and that's gonna be about 13 pages in, 12 pages. 208 instead of 108. Okay, and then if you go down to the bottom of that note 2, there's a summary there, so you can see this is everything that entity-wide. Scroll up just a tiny bit. There we go. So that summary right there tells you what you have in cash and investments as of September 30th, 2025. And the thing that it doesn't include right there is the component unit. You're not required to present that there. But if you wanted to see that information, you could go back to the statement of net position and see that number. Your fiduciary funds, that's your funds where you're collecting some impact fees and those kinds of things that you pass on for other agencies. And so that's why it kind of sits outside of the city, because it's not funds that belong to the city. It belongs to other agencies. And then the other note we're going to go on to is page 35, so another 5 pages in. And it's your compensated absences footnote. Oh, too far. There you go. Okay, so that one is where we talked about, when I talked about earlier, the change in accounting principles. So you can see here, this is what makes up your compensated absence liability. And then how that impacted the financial statements is the next note that I want you to look at, and that's about 3 more pages in. And so I'm gonna have you scroll down there to note 13. And then you can see there, that middle column, that change in accounting principle column. So that was the impact. It reduced your fund balance and your net position numbers in the governmental activities, in business type activities, in that government-wide side. It decreased it by 149,000, and then just in your proprietary funds where you have to separate that out, it was almost 97,000. This is not an impact on your government, on your governmental funds, because those are on a different basis of accounting, and because compensated absences are considered a long-term liability, those are not presented in your governmental funds. So that's why you're not seeing anything there for that. And then if we want to flip to page 40, so that'd be another couple of pages in. One more page. Okay, so this is your PERSI contribution. So this is the amount that the city has contributed for its employees, just the employer contribution. So it doesn't show the amounts that were withheld from employees. So that very first column, you can see that you put in almost $525,000 into PERSI last year for your employees. And that this is all related to this net pension liability stuff, where if PERSI is not 100% funded, and because PERSI is a cost sharing defined benefit plan, it means that you share in the portion of Percy that's not considered funded. So there's a funding amount that's listed on the previous page, and it went up a little bit this last year. So as of the state's fiscal year, which is June 30th, Percy was considered funded, I think it's just over 90%. Yeah, almost 91%. So it went up about 5% compared to the prior year, which means that like, your share of that net pension liability went down. So it's good in the form of presentation and in the form of actual dollars going out the door. It really doesn't affect that. And then on page 41, that is one of those budgetary comparison schedules. This is just for your general fund. And you'll always have this schedule in here. What I want to point out, not so much is the numbers that are happening here, but what's going to happen next year. So there's a new standard that's coming out, and next year it needs to be applied. And so that original and final column that you have, you're going to now be required to have a variance column for those two, between those two columns. And if the numbers are significant, there's a notes section to the required supplementary information. You'll be required to describe why there's a significant variance. And the same thing with the final and actual column. So that variance column on the end there, you'll also be required to describe significant variances and why on that. And then there'll be some other changes too as far as the presentation in your utility funds. And I won't go into that right now. And then we'll skip over to the last report that we need to go over. And that's quite a few pages in. It goes clear to page 48. Okay, so this report, keep going. This report is the report that tells you that your audit was conducted under government auditing standards, which is a requirement by Idaho statute. So you didn't have enough grant funds that you were required to have a single audit, so this is sort of in lieu of that, but there's no opinion expressed like there would be if you'd had to have a single audit. So we test internal controls and compliance. If there were issues in those areas that were considered findings, they'd show up as findings in this report, and the city had neither of those things. And that's it for the city, and then I can quickly go through the Urban Renewal Agency's financial statements, and I'm gonna have you skip past that letter and go into the financial statements. So page 2 is where the audit report is at. And right there, okay. So same format, most of the language is the same as the city's report. It just has the governmental activities and the two funds. So it has far fewer opinion units, and it also had a clean opinion on the financial statements. And if you go on to the next page, the other difference is in the required supplementary information. The two funds, you have two districts in your Urban Renewal Agency. And those two funds have to have a budgetary comparison schedule to them, but there's no payroll in there, so you don't have those other schedules that are Percy related like you had in the city. So that's the difference there. And there's no opinion expressed on the required supplementary information because we are not considered to have audited your budget. And then that other report that we need to go over is at the end. I'm not gonna have you flip to that because the information's the same. It's what I said before, there's no opinion expressed on internal controls and compliance. If there were issues found, there would be findings in the report, and there weren't any. So the only other area to kind of hit on, I guess, is to go to page 9. So 5 pages in from there. One more page. Oh, sorry, previous page. Okay, so that's your, scroll up just a little bit more. So this report right here is your summary of those two funds where you can see the income and expense. And so you'll see that there was almost a $604,000 increase for the year, mostly because there's no projects going on right now that are using up those tax increment revenues that you're collecting in the form of property taxes. And then you're able to invest those funds, and so there's some investment earnings that are occurring while those funds are sitting idle. So the next area that I'll have you go over, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about there as far as maybe what had been planned but didn't happen, is going to be on page 17. So let's go in 6 pages. 7 pages. All of the notes are pretty much the same. There's no compensated absences because there's no employees in the Urban Renewal Agency. So there's really no new notes there on that one. There you go. Okay, so this is one of them. So this is the West District. So you can see there was a budget for expenditures of almost 1.5 million. And so most of that didn't get spent. And so that's why you're seeing such a significant increase there for the change for the year. And then the other fund, the East District on the next page, it's just getting off the ground, so there's not a lot of revenue there yet, so it's not as big of a change. And that's all I have, unless you have questions.
All right, questions for Kathy?
Uh,
Yes, Councilmember Biggs.
Just an easy one, hopefully. It's, the cash investments on the city side, what are included in those investments? Is it like, is real property one of them, or?
No, sorry. So the investments that the city has, I'm gonna actually have you go to the note, if you wanna look at that. And it's on page 30 of your financial statements. In the city's financial statements, so it's gonna be quite a ways back, but, council members can probably see that.
It's 208.
So I talked about the summary that was at the bottom of page 30 that said, here's all of your cash and investments. And if you go up just a little bit right there, that shows you what your investments are in.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
yep.
Very good. Further questions?
No, sir, thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes,
On
Councilmember
page
Brown.
40, I just want to make sure I understand it. So what is the percentage that is supposed to be paid to Percy?
So for the employer contribution, so right now it's 11.96% for general employees, and it's higher for your police and fire, public safety employees.
Got it. So we actually hit exactly that percentage then in
Yeah, so,
2025?
yeah, that's the intent, is to show that you're putting in the required contributions.
Right, and so am I reading this right, that the staff total payroll was $4,388,000?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was covered, what's called covered payroll for Percy.
Okay.
So it's basically at the payroll of your participating employees.
Okay, anything further?
No, sir.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep,
you.
thank you.
See you next year.
All right, that takes us to public hearings. Case number 2509-S, Indies subdivision. Marina.
Good evening, Mayor Steer and members of the council. For the record, Marina Lundy, Associate Planner, CUNA Development Services Department. The application before you this evening is a continuation from the February 3rd hearing of a request for preliminary plat approval for a 23-lot single-family residential subdivision with 4 common lots on approximately 5.1 acres. The site is located near the intersection of West Ardell and South McClure Lane and is already zoned R6 medium residential density. The Boise-Cuna Irrigation District has submitted an updated letter outlining the mitigation efforts that are being taken by the applicant to ensure the neighboring property owner will have unobstructed and protected access to their irrigation water. Staff has reviewed the proposed pre-plat for compliance with CUNA City Code, Idaho statutes, and the CUNA Comprehensive Plan. And should the council approve the application, staff recommends the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions as outlined in the staff report. I'll be here for any questions that you have, and the applicant is also present tonight.
Councilmember Biggs.
It's the language on the letter I have a question about. So when you're saying that they are, this says looking at putting.
Uh,
That doesn't, that's a little different to me.
Yes, so without approval of the pre-plat, this is their exploratory, what their options are for protecting and maintaining that water. They haven't decided on which of the mitigation options to choose yet, since they don't have approval. This is just their preliminary
So there's no plan,
approach.
they're waiting to see what happens, and then they'll.
Correct.
And then the other question I had was about the school. So I see the letter from November, and I don't think school's here to, I thought they said they had an agreement last time.
They did,
They did?
yeah.
Okay, but we didn't have a letter, so that fulfilled that. We put the old letter in. They haven't changed their position, because the letter still says they haven't come to an agreement, so,
Yes, we have not received an updated letter from the school district at this time.
okay, thanks.
Okay, anything further? Okay, thank you. And so we did close the public hearing the last time, so, I think that was the information that council had requested with Kuhn Irrigation District.
What do you guys wanna, do you wanna open the hearing back up, or, I mean,
Well, there were the two issues.
yeah, that's,
and we checked those two boxes, so I don't know if there's anything that can change that. Because I think Mark had said, legally, they check the boxes, we can't, I don't know, what was the wording for that, Mark? They've checked all of the boxes from the staff report and everything else,
Mark Bybee, City Attorney. I think what you're getting at is basically if they satisfy the criteria of your code for what a plat design must be, and they basically have a right to approval at that point. And so if there's a deficiency, you need to identify the deficiency in the plat to justify denial.
and that would also be grounds to reopen a public hearing, I guess, right?
What would be grounds? I'm not sure I understood the
Like,
question.
I mean, finding a deficiency or something like that.
Yeah, I guess
there's
if,
no other deficiencies that we identify right now, I guess we could reopen the public hearing, but
yeah, so I'll try my best to answer this. So if after receiving those things that, like, 'cause you continued the hearing last time to receive additional information, right? And you have that, Marina updated you on it, you have the chance to see the school district letter. If you're looking to reopen the hearing, my general advice is to limit it to the subject matter this was continued for, meaning those letters and that information. And so if you feel like there's a reason to get additional information related to what you just got, or give people an opportunity to comment on the irrigation or on the school district thing, you could open it for that purpose. And if you open it more broadly, I just think you're getting back into what was already done at the prior hearing, if that makes sense. And so we tend to, city councils can sometimes get caught in kind of a cycle of public hearing that we never move forward, because if they just keep opening it up for general comment every time it's continued. I hope that makes sense and answers your question.
yeah, thanks, sir.
sorry, I was in thoughts. I mean, unfortunately, I think last meeting we discussed the issues we have with traffic, irrigation, and just the land in general, right? The layout of the map. I think we fell on the irrigation in the school district. The school provided a letter, but did say that they had a partnership. Is that sufficient for you? And the irrigation plan, is that sufficient? That's kind of where we're at.
Right. And I'm happy with that. Obviously, they've met with the Board of Control and
Yeah, I
They
think
have
that
a-
was the
they have
main
a
issue
plan
on
moving
irrigation,
forward.
was they hadn't come to
right.
an agreement.
And
With the owner, right?
I mean, I think what it comes to is this is a plat, right, where we've already been through the approval status. It's just the final subdivide of the plat, so.
Right, it's not the annexation level where we
Right.
could just, but
So if you have a motion. any
Well, I
idea?
don't know if it's worth reopening the public hearing to address those two issues or not.
I think the irrigation one, like they said, they have a plan, right? And it's gonna depend on if we approve it or not.
They've at least officially met now,
Yeah.
so they have something.
yeah, and I see the homeowner's point, like, oh, it'd be more beneficial maybe to hook to the PI but they wanna see if it goes through or not, so they're not gonna commit till it does or doesn't, I'm satisfied with it.
And as frustrated as we can be with the letter from the school district, I think that's what we're gonna get with this application, is that they have an agreement, so.
Agreement, right. Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're to the point where this is
Yeah.
the latitude that we have left on this
Right.
is where we're at.
Mhm.
What are your,
I mean, I think the,
Councilmember Rocco.
yeah, I think the letter satisfies the irrigation part of it, and I really don't think that the school is gonna change anything anyway, so I just don't see the point of opening it again.
do you want,
Same.
do you wanna make a motion, or? Any of you want me to?
I'll motion that we approve, case number 25-09-S and 2529-DR.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for approval. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Does it just need to be case number, or does it need to be also the 25-29DR? What does the motion need to be? Cause you read it off the PDF.
Doug, is that the correct motion that's in blue on our,
I just went off of it.
Yeah, you went off the blue, yeah.
So, the motion to approve in this case would just be a motion to approve case number 25-09-S.
Okay.
You wanna restate it?
I'm restated and,
amended the motion?
amend the motion to, approve, case number 25-09-S.
Second.
Still stand? Okay. All right. Motion and a second. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That takes us to case number 25-3-0A, Architectural and Site Design Guide. Marina.
Good evening, Mayor Steer and members of the council. For the record, Marina Lundy, Associate Planner, CUNA Development Services Department. The application before you this evening proposes a zoning text amendment. The text changes include modifications to the Development Regulations Code for design requirements, objectives, and considerations, and large retail establishment design manual. These sections would be replaced with the Architecture and Site Design Policies Design Guide. The council recently approved the updates to the Downtown Design Guide, and this design guide before you tonight is conceptually very similar, but at a larger scale. Staff believes that the proposed changes will better serve the intent of the development regulations and large retail establishment design manual sections of code by creating greater flexibility and adaptability. Additionally, a design guide can help to ensure creativity and better alignment with the city's vision by communicating the city's identity, values, and aesthetic vision in a cohesive way, and can become a tool to promote consistency, quality, and sense of place across developments, especially for large retail projects that have major visual and community impacts. And I'll be here for any questions that you have about the application.
Okay, questions for Marina?
I do.
Councilmember Bruce.
I know that we don't necessarily have any, I guess, what's the main reason for updating this? Is there something that we've missed out on, possibly, or, I just kinda wanna know what the thought process was in doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say necessarily anything that we've missed out on. Really just an opportunity to allow for more design flexibility. We don't necessarily want to try and foresee all of the things that a large retail establishment could come forward with. We're looking to provide more of a framework for applicants to work through, allow for more creativity and for decision makers to have more involvement in the process.
A lot of red there.
Yeah, it would essentially just be replacing that section of code with.
So we're just removing, yeah. Mr. Mayor, this is a public hearing?
Yes. You ready for that? This is a public hearing. I didn't have anybody sign up to testify in this matter. Is there anybody who wishes to testify in this matter, didn't get a chance to sign in? All right, seeing none.
I move we close evidence presentation and move to deliberation.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Gentlemen, have any thoughts? Councilman?
I'm good with it.
No.
Thank you for all the work. I move we approve case number 25-03-OA.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Case number 25-01-CPA. Staff has requested that this item be tabled to a date uncertain.
I move we table case number 25-01-CPA to a date uncertain.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Business items, memorandum regarding Ada County Coroner impact fees request and city council findings. Nathan Stanley.
Mayor, City Council, Nathan Stanley, 751 West 4th Street. Before you is a memorandum from City Attorney Bill Gigray and an order tabling further action on Ada County coroner impact fees due to coroner facilities. Coroner facilities do not fit within public safety facilities by definition of the Idaho Development Impact Fee Act. So the memo goes into further detail. I can try and answer any questions you have, or maybe Mark can go into more legal reasonings on why.
So, Mark, what motion do you need on that?
You would just be approving the,
Memorandum?
no, the stay order to basically not take further action, so no collection of coroner impact fees on the behalf of Ada County.
Guess I'm trying to clarify, because wasn't the last agenda item basically to table the CIP? So like, I guess.
Yeah, so we're moving forward with the rest of the impact fees for Ada County for EMS in their jail.
Okay.
But we're not moving forward with the impact fees specifically for the coroner's
Coroner.
facility.
Okay, I think I get, so basically, it's kind of taking an action to make Ada County aware that the city's
Correct.
decided not to proceed with this type of impact fee. Got it.
Yes.
All right, sorry, Bill Gigray's been running with this a lot
Yeah.
for my office. I don't know how many of you know Bill, but I know you do. I know Mayor does. He is incredibly expert on impact fees and putting them in place by intergovernmental agreement. And the issue going on here is impact fees can only be adopted for very specific purposes. And it's his review, and I've talked with him about it, that impact fees for coroner items is not within the scope of what local governments can adopt impact fees for. Ada County looked to be pursuing this. We're not sure why they decided to. They must have had a different opinion, but it was our opinion to city staff and to this council that the city, even though the impact fees would ultimately go to the benefit of Ada County, like there wouldn't be ones that you kept, you'd collect them and transfer them if you did this. It's our opinion that we don't think that coroner impact fees are a type of impact fee that you can adopt and put in place.
So Ada County is going to pursue a legislative fix to make it where that can be collected. However, for this action, if we get this off of here now, then we can proceed with advertisement for the remaining impact fees, and then we'll bring those back in April. So
Yes, once we get all the required noticing done for those public hearings, they'll be back before you in April.
yeah, and then this just clarifies it so that we can advertise it properly without the coroner in there, and then we'll come back for the rest of it.
I move we accept the order to stay on the impact fees for the coroner's office.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was choking on a Smartie. Nancy, that was sort of, she gave me the giant ones.
All right, that takes us to the City of Cuna 2027 to the 2031 5-year plan, projected prioritization list. Doug Hanson.
Mayor and council, for the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning Director, 751 West 4th Street, CUNA. Before you this evening is a discussion item for the proposed 2026 CUNA project prioritization list to inform the next update to Ada County Highway District's 27 to 31 5-year plan. The priority lists are broken into roadway and intersection improvements and safety and compliance. Staff's top goals when ranking priorities were for pedestrian and safety improvements as well as intersections. Also included within the packet, you will find the existing projects, public comments, and general public comments. As mentioned previously, tonight, this is just a discussion item in order to address any questions or changes the council would like to see on the draft priority list. And one thing I would like to note, on the safety and compliance prioritization list, which is page 349 of 367, priorities 2 and 3 both list Porter and Cambrick. A correction that should have been made that wasn't updated at the moment by mistake is that priority 3 should be an enhanced pedestrian crossing at the corner of Porter and K Avenue. And with that, I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, questions for Doug?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Rocco.
Doug, can you explain the methodology on how you go ahead and establish the order?
So as far as how we establish the order, a lot of these are priorities that we have taken from previous years, and you'll see them generally in the same format as they're listed, because as projects get programmed, we want to make sure that they maintain that spot on the list, because by deprioritizing program projects, we run the risk of ACHD either moving them down or removing them from the 5-year plan. But all in all, we take that information, we meet with ACHD, we look at all of the comments on the projects to see what people are commenting on. In addition to that, this year we did meet with Wava Kaufman from Cuna School District, who also sits on the ACHD Bike Advisory Committee to help us inform us what KSD's priority list was, so we can sort of match with them for the safety and compliance aspect.
Right, so if I understand this is coming from the city. You haven't gotten to the point of meeting with ACHD. This is what you're driving right now.
Yeah, so ACHD and Edinson Batista might be able to answer some of these questions better for you as far as the overarching process, but ACHD tasks each municipality or county within their jurisdiction to submit these lists so they can better identify what each group's priority projects are to inform their 5-year plan update, which is across the entire county.
Right. So specifically, like if I look at the roadway and intersection prioritization list, and you did explain your methodology, but like say you look at the second one would have been 10 Mile and Deer Flat. It was 4 and now it's 2. So you've gone from priority 4 to priority 2. So I'm just curious as to how you're coming up with that.
Yeah, so One reason being is because 2 of the projects were completed last year, so they were no longer a part of the priority list. They were removed. So that would have been
Got it.
like for instance, K and Avalon. That
Got it.
improvement was made. That's been removed from the list, so things subsequently move
Got
up.
it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then I'll also note that we do our 5-year plan in conjunction with working with the school district and their priorities. That I think you'll notice on the community projects, we've had an issue for a long time in pedestrian connectivity south of the tracks from 10 Mile into town. And so there is some temporary pathways in there. They use asphalt for some of that stuff to get it done where no development is going to happen in the near future, so that we can at least make that connectivity and make it a little safer for people to be on that road and not get hit by cars and things like that. So we've added some of those things in there for safety reasons, and the rest of the list is as it is.
Mr. Mayor, can we hear from Mr. Batista?
Yes.
I have a question for him. if
Okay.
that's okay. How are you, sir?
Mayor, Council Member Bruce, good.
We had several projects that were on your list that have since been removed over towards Cloverdale and around the golf course area. We thought they were moving up the list, but then they disappeared. Do you have any input on those, or why they were removed, or? And Doug may be able to refer, if you could, if you know the streets I'm talking about. I was just curious of how they're on your list moving up and then they disappear.
Mayor, Council Member, certainly the list that we're looking today, it's many projects throughout the years. They ultimately is the city's. The way the ACHC looks at this list is mostly from the perspective from the cities. The city of Kuna, in this case, they would look at the city the community priorities, hear from the public itself, and then prioritize their project based on the city needs. From that perspective, whenever we look at projects and they move around, it's typically because there's priorities change within the city, and they move around from that perspective. Since last year, we have moved toward a strategy of focusing on the top 3 projects for each of the cities in the county. So, for example, this year, that's where you're going to see your top 3 having a year designated for either design, right-of-way, and construction. That way, we keep it consistent in avoiding that issue that we have seen in the past. In the prior years, many situations have happened where it becomes a little volatile, where you can see your number, for example, going back to 10 Mile and Deer Flat, where the 10 Mile and Deer Flat, where this project was designed back in 2023, 2024, for example. That means that at that point it was high in the rankings, but then it was dropped for some reason or another. So now we are looking to create more consistency throughout the process. That way, looking at the city and the city staff has the matter expert with respect to how those communities' priorities are within the city's list, and then move them forward as fast as we can.
Follow-up.
Councilmember Bruce.
How do we fall within the priority list of Meridian and Boise, right? Because they're always going to need roads updated more than us, but yet we have thousands of homes waiting to be built, and traffic's becoming possibly unsafe in some people's eyes. How do you balance that, right? Because Boise and Meridian can always take that, but little old Kuna, we need your love.
Here, Councilmember Bruce. Certainly, and that's one of the challenges that was present in prior years with different strategies. But with this strategy of focusing on the top 3, our commitment as an agency since last year is making sure that in an equitable fashion, all those top 3 are being prioritized equally. So that's why you're going to see those years allocated for each of the project. And the goal through this process is keeping at least the top 3 locked in place until construction takes place. So with that emphasis, all agencies are seeing the same type of priorities as the city of CUNA. They're also in their top 3 being accelerated to ensure that they happen as soon as possible, and then your list can move up as construction takes place.
One more.
Councilmember Bruce.
And then I know that we had the light that was at K and Avalon that we kind of, we did a lot of the work on it to get it ready.
Design.
To design to get it ready to be put in. Is that something that cities do or other cities could do? Or if we find an area that say, hey, you're not gonna design it until, 2027, but we would like to see it move sooner, could we do that design if council were to decide to do something and have it ready for you maybe to move quicker on it?
Mayor, council member, certainly, that's one of the opportunities that are present for ACC to partner with the city, even similar to Avalon and K. There's opportunities of funding. Typically, that there's challenges within funding within the county where the city can pursue funding, whether it's through the state or federally, and with the support of Compass, and then through those means obtain funds that would accelerate a project to construction. ACC will always look into partner with the city in supporting those endeavors. If there's an opportunity within your list, certainly the city has the opportunity to look for those funding opportunities. At the same time, we also have that safety team that was formed in the last couple of years, where we're looking to do rapid project implementation throughout all the county. So if there are projects where there's minimal to no right-of-way impacts, where it's a crossing, sidewalk gap, that we can move forward and improve the safety along those roads, we will look at those opportunities and accelerate those projects to happen in a year or two time lapse. So there's different means where we can look at those opportunities, but it depends on what type of impact the project represent, what type of work needs to happen before we move those projects, for example, in the RPI. But certainly, if the city looks to pursue for any funding, ACC would support that in efforts, and then we'll partner in one way or another.
Thank you.
Okay, further question?
Yes, Mayor.
Councilmember Rocco.
On the light that was on Avalon, did that fall under your safety unit?
Mayor, Councilmember Rocco, I believe that, and I'm not too familiar with it.
I
but
can answer that.
But, okay.
Mayor, Council, Nathan Stanley, City Clerk. That was an LTAC and Compass grant project, working with ACHD, ITD, because that's right in the middle of both their jurisdictions.
Got it. Can I ask another question?
Councilmember Rocco.
Did ACHD fund that light?
No, it was through LTAC and Compass,
Got it.
through grant funds.
Right. I got another question, Mr.
Councilmember Rocco.
Mayor. So I think it's sometime in this month that the city has to submit their 5-year plan, right? Then walk us through what's the calendar as, like, when do we see it finalized this year?
Mayor, Councilmember, after we received the letter from the city, right now the current due date that we have is March 18.
Okay.
At that, our next step is to review all the city's project priorities, evaluate where, if there's any new project that we need to move forward with. We work internally to evaluate new projects to determine where it would land within our capital projects or scoping or with the safety team. At that point, we continue conversations with city staff to, if there's anything that needs to be refined, clarified, we do so before we go in front of the commission. During the month of May, we present all our findings from the public, the partner agencies' prioritization list, and in any additional letters that we receive through this process to the commission during the month of May. At that point, we start working towards an internal draft that's later released during the month of July. Typically at mid-July, sorry, you will see a list of all the projects that will be that enter into the draft of the 2027-2031 5-year plan. And at that point, the city will have another opportunity to review that draft list that is for the city's jurisdiction. It will have an opportunity to provide a comment a month after, in mid-August, to provide another letter whether they're in support or they would like to see different changes to the list. At that point, we compiled the comments we presented to the commission on early September in preparation for an adoption hearing where the commission ultimately makes a decision whether what type of changes they would like to see as part of the project.
Got it. Thank you.
This year's draft.
And so basically, we have some time here now. This is been brought, you can look at what's on our 5-year plan. If there's other things you would like to discuss to be on the plan, certainly work those through with Doug, and we'll work our way through that so that we can make sure we're as complete as possible.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming.
And Mr. Mayor, I have a question for you.
Yes,
So,
Councilman Brock.
today's the 3rd of March, the 18th is when we submit this. Do I make that assumption when you refer to other entities have collaborated on this? Do I assume that I'm looking at this, that the school has already had their input into this?
Did the school district get back with you and?
Yeah, so we actually had an in-person meeting with WAVA, who was with KSD and ACHD's Bike Advisory Committee, but we can also follow up with Brian Graves and make sure they have no additional comments on our list to include those with the packet with the resolution at the next meeting.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, any comments on that? This is just a discussion item for tonight, so
Thank
look
you.
it over and see what you think and get it back to Doug.
Councilman, if you have any questions, or make sure to get it.
All right, that brings us to ordinances. Consideration to approve ordinance 2026-04, providing certain findings and amending section 1 of chapter 3, title 7, CUNA City Code to add new definitions for BMX track, Greenbelt Trail, regulated devices, commercially rented e-devices, motor vehicle, and skate park, and amending section 2 of chapter 3, title 7, CUNA City Code to regulate the use of regulated devices in city parks and property, including permitted areas and exceptions, and amending section 10 of chapter 3, title 7, CUNA City Code to limit the operation of regulated devices within skate parks, and enact a new section 23 of chapter 3, title 7, CUNA City Code to regulate the use and operation of e-bikes, e-scooters, and commercially rented e-devices, and enacting a new section 11 of chapter 1, title 7, CUNA City Code to regulate the use of regulated devices in bicycle lanes and on public sidewalks, and directing the city clerk and providing an effective date.
I move we waive 3 readings of ordinance 2026-04.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to waive the 3 readings. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move we approve ordinance 2026-04.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Any further discussion on that motion? Nathan, would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember McPherson,
Yes.
Councilmember Biggs.
Yes.
Councilmember Rocco,
Yes.
Council President Bruce.
Aye.
And that motion carries. And that is all we had on the agenda for tonight. Did a walkthrough through the new council chambers and community meeting space this morning, and they're hanging sheetrock, and it's looking really good in there, so really impressed with that. I don't know if everybody likes the white color. They're hoping to do the first layer of stucco on there here in the next few days, weather permitting, so. But yeah, getting roof on and getting the sheetrock paint on the inside, and I watched them do sheetrock for a few minutes and decided I still don't want to hang sheetrock, so.
Mayor, we still need to approve the ordinance, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah, we waived the 3 readings, but we didn't vote.
No, I said, yeah, we did.
Did we?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't
Okay,
vote?
Yep.
Yeah.
just checking.
Garrett will catch it.
And you
Hold it.
told the
Yeah.
council.
I did, yeah. Well, I saw McPherson freaking out over there, so he made me question myself.
He questioned me, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, are we gonna, in the new building, are we gonna have laptops? Are we gonna have a little bit more desk space here?
We have a lot more desk space.
Yes, so the new dais will have 2 feet of desk space for you, and laptops will be provided so they don't take up so much space.
Got it. Fantastic.
There'll be quite a bit more room,
Good.
so.
Yeah, that was one of my definites, was we gotta have a place to do stuff, so, yeah. No, it's good, it's coming along nice, and, weather has, although we don't like that we don't have a lot of snowpack, the, weather has cooperated to keep that building going on track and on schedule, so, should be in it,
June?
possibly June, for sure by July, so,
Awesome.
should all be good.
There are still a lot of housing bills. Some died, some are back, so keep an eye on anything at the legislature to do with, everybody wants affordable housing or attainable, but all that means is they want to pack as many as they can in each, square foot. So keep an eye on those, because, your opinion is valuable when they get up to those folks, so keep an eye on those.
Yeah, a bunch of them popped up, yesterday afternoon, I think, and,
A lot of ideas, not necessarily good, but a lot of ideas.
well, you like the 400 square foot lots with no minimum setbacks, so I guess you'd build a house right on the sidewalk, and, there's no room for any infrastructure in there, so
Just you,
really it would make a planner go nuts trying to figure out how to put that together, so.
just you and your neighbor.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I haven't seen it come up yet, so, a lot of, trying to work budgets through there, so, but there are, as the session goes on, you get more bills, but they don't get better.
And I didn't hear if the chicken bill passed or not, so.
I think it did pass out of committee, so that's gonna hit the Senate floor. For some reason, you can have chickens but not roosters,
Right,
so
anywhere, so HOAs don't get to tell you no.
that's gonna be an interesting one. I think we have a rooster a couple doors down anyway, from my house already, so,
Yeah, not supposed to have those anyway.
yeah. Well, thank you.
All right, well, that's all we have, so meeting is adjourned, thank you.